choices, and Scott said something that I thought was profound. This whole house of cards is going to collapse when we figure out who's going to pay for it. I don't know what the national debt is going to have to be, but at some point, the debt payments, we're concerned about $1 trillion a year for the Defense Department right now. It's not going to be long before we're going to be paying $1 trillion or $2 trillion or $3 trillion a year to service the debt because of all the wild plans and the wild ideas and the promise to the American people in an effort to buy the election. I remember when Obama was elected, there was a online video of a woman that said, "Oh my goodness, I am so glad that he's been elected because I don't have to pay for my cell phone now." I mean, that pretty much expresses, I'm so glad all these people are going to be elected, or I'm going to vote for them, is because I don't have to pay for whatever you want to say, because the government's going to provide it to me. Well, who's going to pay for it is going to be the ultimate test, Scott, Gary, and everybody else in the room, and I'll be long gone when it happens. But if you go back to history, you'll find out what happens to the empires when they can't pay for it any longer. We're headed in that direction, and I don't see any improvement.
Thank you, Hanson. We'll go to William, followed by Dave.
Hi. So I think there's one fact that people are missing, and that is that the Democrats are really a party, and there are people who have joined us from the Republican Party. People like David Jolly down in Florida, Joe Walsh, Jeff Duncan from Georgia. There are people that have joined, like George Conway, and they're welcome. Now, George Conway didn't win the congressional race up in New York. It's his first time running. He's got to get his sea legs as a Democrat if he's serious about running. But he did run, and he was welcome, and nobody gave him a hard time. But he just didn't win that congressional race. So that there's a moderating factor of a lot of people who were Republicans who are now joining the Democratic Party. It's not, I don't know what the percentages is, I don't have statistics, but I think that is more frequent than what you're going to see in the terms of Democratic Socialists. Democratic Socialists may win in a congressional district. They may be popular in certain neighborhoods for real local offices, but I don't see that sweeping the Democratic Party and going nationwide. And you look sort of at the individual districts and see where that flew and why. As for things like minimum wage, the idea of raising the minimum wage is not a radical idea. I mean, what is it right now? $7.25 an hour federally. So if you doubled that, it still wouldn't be a living wage. So if you doubled that federally, that's not a completely radical idea. As far as Medicare for all, Medicare doesn't pay for everything, and people have to buy insurance to supplement the Medicare. So that the insurance companies really are still in the mix. It's just that, if you want expanded services, you may have Medicare paying for certain basic things, but you've got to buy insurance to cover other things or go out of pocket, and that can be bankrupting for a lot of people. So they buy insurance for the most part. So you can end Medicare or make basic Medicare benefits available up and down the food chain or at an earlier age, and that would be a gradual expansion. And where's a lot of the tax deficit coming from? The tax breaks for the ultra rich really does cause shortfall in the budget, and so you might see some moderate Democrats suggesting, well, maybe we shouldn't give the ultra rich, the top 1% or the top 3%, these super big tax breaks. Maybe there should be a graduated tax that takes into account that some people have more than they can spend in 100 lifetimes. But that's not like putting a tax on everyone. It's just making people pay more of their fair share. The ideas of a moderate Democrat to raise the Medicare contribution levels from, like, what is it, 500,000 now, where it cuts off. I don't know the exact number, but raise that up to 750,000, and that would make Medicare solvent for decades. If the chip-in was higher for the wage earners earning up on the first $750,000, you contribute to Medicare as opposed to just the first $500,000. So those are moderate changes that are not going to turn the country into a socialist country. And in fact, we have a mixed economy. We have mixed elements of socialism and capitalism. It's primarily a capitalist country. I'm a moderate Democrat. And, and Scott is right about the grooming in West Philadelphia. You might have some people with bad grooming, that don't represent the party as a whole, and they certainly wouldn't fit in on the Upper West Side or Harlem or anywhere else in Manhattan. And I'm not as familiar with Brooklyn, but maybe there's a place for them there. But it's not. It's there are people that are on the fringes, but there are more centrists also joining the Democratic Party from the Republican Party because they didn't have a place in the Republican Party because they're alienated by MAGA. So I think there is going to be an expansion of the Democratic Party, and I think the Republicans coming in may offset the Democratic Socialists. I have no statistics to back it up, but that's just an observation.
So you suggest that this is like they're outliers and they're not going to take control of the party. And I'm wondering, William, whether your assessment of what has become MAGA, I think I'm correct in saying that it actually began back in the Tea Party days when that was first brought to our attention in the public realm. Whether your assessment about them not taking over the Republican Party was the same as your assessment that the Democratic Socialists are not going to take over the Democratic Party.
I don't see them as being broadly popular. They may take over some congressional seats. They may take over some individual cities.
Right, but that wasn't the question I asked you. I asked you whether your assessment of the Tea Party / MAGA at its inception was the same. Did you reckon that they would never take over the Republican Party?
I didn't actually have an opinion on it back then, one way or the other. I just saw that they morphed into MAGA, and then they included QAnon and some other.
All right. So, how is this different from that?
It's different because if you look at the individual proposals that are being made, and some things, like if somebody's profiling, if somebody's blowing hot air and making promises like Mondami that he can't keep, then that's gonna detract from his appeal in the long run if he promises stuff that he doesn't have the power.
Didn't happen in the inception of the Tea Party / MAGA movement?
Well,
It did. The exact same thing that's happening on the liberal wing happened to the Republican. Literally, almost verbatim.
I don't see it being
the wings of each party are becoming more popular.
I don't see the wings of the Democratic Party taking over the center. I don't think that they have You know,
Right, I know you made that point, but that wasn't the question. But thank you for it anyway, William.
Why do you say? Why, I don't.
I asked you the question several ways, and you didn't actually answer it directly, and that's fine. You're not on the witness stand, and you're not going to be held.
My answer is no, but I don't see it happening. But
No, I know you don't see it happening. I'm asking you, what are the market differences between what happened to the Republican Party and what may be happening to the Democratic Party? I'm asking you to back up your point. I'm not arguing that your point is wrong. I'm asking you to back it up, and you're not answering what I'm asking. So I'm going to move on.
I would have to do a statistical analysis.
I'm going to move on to Dave, followed by Leaping.
When I look at who are the people joining DSA after 2024, I would say